Hudson was born in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, on August 2, 1937. His parents, Fred James Hudson and Olive Luella Pentland, were musicians. His mother played piano and accordion and sang. His father, a farm inspector who had fought as a fighter pilot in World War I, played drums, C-melody saxophone, clarinet, flute, and piano. Hudson moved with his family to London, Ontario, around 1940. Starting piano lessons at an early age, Hudson also played organ at his church and his uncle's funeral parlor, and performed country songs on the accordion. Classically trained in piano, music theory, harmony, and counterpoint, Hudson wrote his first song at the age of 11 and first played professionally with dance bands in 1949, at the age of 12. He attended Browdale Public School and Medway High School before studying music, primarily Bach's chorales and the Well-Tempered Clavier, at the University of Western Ontario. During this period, he grew increasingly frustrated with the rigidity of the classical repertoire, leading him to drop out after a year. Hudson primarily played saxophone in the group and some piano in a style inspired by Johnny Johnson, but saw his first Lowrey organ at a show in Detroit and determined that he would get one. The group found moderate success and plenty of work, recording a few songs in Toronto in 1960, changing their name to Capers with a K, recording a few more songs at Chess Studios in Chicago. Hudson was first approached by Ronnie Hawkins and Levon Helm in the summer of 1961, after a Capers show in London, and asked to join the Hawks, an offer he declined. The Hawks persisted, and in December 1961, Hudson agreed to join the band on two conditions: that Hawkins buy him a Lowrey organ and that he be paid an extra $10 a week by each of the other band members to give music lessons to the other Hawks. This second condition was in part to justify the move to his parents, who he feared would think he was squandering his years of music education by playing in a rock and roll band. Discussing the thinking behind his early fears in The Last Waltz, Hudson told interview director Martin Scorsese, "There is a view that jazz is evil because it comes from evil people, but actually the greatest priests on 52nd Street and on the streets of New York City were the musicians. They were doing the greatest healing work. They knew how to punch through music that would cure and make people feel good." When the 24-year-old Hudson joined the Hawks, the backing band for Ronnie Hawkins, the band already consisted of 21-year-old Levon Helm, drums, and 18-year-olds Robbie Robertson, guitar, Rick Danko, bass, and Richard Manuel, piano. The lineup that would become the band was now complete. Hudson was one of the few organ players in rock and roll and rhythm and blues to eschew a Hammond organ. Upon joining the Hawks, Hudson took the opportunity to negotiate the procurement of a new Lowrey organ as part of his compensation. The Lowrey organ offered a different mix of features, and Hudson played one with Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks and with Bob Dylan and the band, playing three different models: originally a Festival FL console, which was replaced by a Lincolnwood TSO-25 during 1969, and later still a Horseshoe console H-25 model, as depicted in The Last Waltz. Under the strict supervision of Hawkins, the Hawks became an accomplished band. They split from Hawkins in 1963, recorded two singles and toured almost continually, playing in bars and clubs, usually billed as Levon and the Hawks. Hudson started work as a session musician in 1965, playing on John Hammond Jr.'s So Many Roads along with Robertson, guitar, and Helm, drums. In August 1965, they were introduced to Bob Dylan by manager Albert Grossman's assistant, Mary Martin. In October, Dylan and the Hawks recorded the single Can You Please Crawl Out Your Window, and, in January 1966, recorded material with Dylan for what would turn into the Blonde on Blonde album. Dylan recruited the band to accompany him on his controversial 1966 Electric Tour of the United States, Australia, and Europe. An album of Dylan's 1966 performance with his band, the Royal Albert Hall Concert, was finally released in 1998. Subsequent to Bob Dylan's motorcycle accident in July 1966, the group settled in a pink house in West Saugerties, New York, near Woodstock. Dylan was a frequent visitor, and Hudson's recordings of their collaborations resulted in the Basement Tapes. By 1968, the group recorded its debut album, Music from Big Pink. The album was recorded in Los Angeles, at Capitol, and New York, at A&R Studio. Capitol originally announced that the group would be called the Crackers, but when music from Big Pink was released they were officially named the band. Hudson provided innovative accompaniment. For example, the song Up on Cripple Creek features Hudson playing a clavinet through a wah-wah pedal to create a swampy sound reminiscent of a Jew's harp or the croak of a frog. This clavinet wah-wah pedal configuration was later adopted by many funk musicians. His close friend Jan Horst, a music archivist and producer, confirmed the news to NPR. "He was a divine musical gentleman," Horst says. "He died peacefully in his sleep, holding the hand of someone he loved."